The silence of deep space was shattered by a crackling sound, faint at first, then growing urgent through the comms array. Mira Leong, junior communications officer aboard the ESV Audacity, jolted awake at her console. It wasn't the usual background radiation hum. It was a voice, synthetic but oddly melodic, speaking in patterns too structured to be natural. "Audacity, do you read?" barked Captain Rowan, striding down the dim-lit bridge, boots echoing on carbon fiber. "Something's piggybacking on our standard scan," Mira said, her fingers flying over the dashboard. It's a language, but not one I've ever seen." Next to her, the ship's AI linguist, Hex, processed billions of permutations in seconds. Its optic core pulsed. "Residual markers align with extinct forest tech," Hex intoned, voice calm. "Origin unknown. Probability of hoax less than 1%. At that, the crew's tension snapped like a drawn bow. Foros had vanished when Mira was barely born, rumored to have taken their secrets with them. Secrets capable of reseeding entire planets or annihilating them. The very idea sent a shiver through the bridge. "What's the message?" Captain Rowan demanded. Sweat beaded at his brow. Even he looked scared, though he hid it behind iron orders. Mira glanced at Hex. The AI's processor flickered, then through the translation on the holoscreen. "The last garden still breathes. Seek the vault of Starfall. Restore or perish. I offer the choice." No one spoke for a solid minute, fear and hope mixing in the recycled air. Chaz, the ship's rogue engineer, whispered, "You realize every faction in Andromeda will be gunning for us now, right?" Captain Rowan's jaw set. "We're not letting anyone claim this alone. Hex, get us a trajectory. Mira, prep a silent relay. We move at dawn." As stars crawled by the windows, Mira stared at the message, caught between terror and the first sting of hope she'd felt in years. If the Foros tech was real, Earth might not have to stay dead. But if it fell into the wrong hands, she clenched her fists. One thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. The Audacity glided toward the shadow of a burnt-out moon, running cold and silent. Mira's heart raced with every silent blink of the alarm panel. She glanced at Hex, who parsed and displayed endless cryptographic variations of the Foros message. The rest of the bridge crew sat in a tense huddle, faced with choices bigger than any of their training had prepared them for. "Reading anything else on the network?" Rowan asked, voice hushed. His eyes darted across Mira's screens. "If word gets out, we're a target." Mira shook her head. "Nothing so far, Captain. But I'm betting we're not the only ones who picked up that bounce." Suddenly, a string of alerts flashed scarlet. Proximity sensors tripped. Hex's core word. "Unregistered drive signature approaching. No IFF broadcast. Fast and deliberate," Hex reported. "Evasive pattern, now," Rowan called, as the hull's plating vibrated. Through the viewport, the stars bent and danced. In engineering, Chaz patched into the engine controls. "Boosting ionic drive. Get us under that moon's shadow, or we're sitting ducks." No response to our ping. "Either pirates or someone who wants us just as bad," whispered Pilot Tane, hands steady on the controls. "Hex, scramble our signature. Mira, prep a burst relay, encrypted just to Dr. Phi on New Terra. She's the only one we trust." Mira's fingers flew, adrenaline making her sharp. Her message burned one word into the void: Starfall. A pulse of energy raked the ship's shields, making the floor tremble. Direct hit on the aft plate. Chaz spat, sweat streaking his brow. "Minimal damage, but they mean business. Hull integrity holding at 80%. "Return fire?" Tane asked, jaw clenched. Rowan paused, a thin crack in his stoic exterior. "No. If they want to talk, they'll hail. If not, we'll lose them and jump to silent running." A harsh digital chirp bled through the comms. A jagged-faced, battle-scarred woman appeared, her insignia bearing the crossed silver blades of the Orion Syndicate. "Cut the thrusters and prepare to be boarded," she snarled. Behind her, masked soldiers readied plasma rifles. "We know what you intercepted. Hand it over, or we turn your ship to ash." The bridge went quiet, except for the shrill tone of the shields regenerating. Mira looked from Rowan to Hex, realization dawning. They were the underdogs, outgunned, outmanned, but still holding humanity's last hope. "Your move, Captain," Hex said, a rare edge of anticipation in its synthesized voice. Rowan tightened his grip on the command rail. "No one's claiming Starfall. Not today." Red lights flickered as the Orion Syndicate's gunship anchored above them like a menacing predator. Inside, the Audacity's crew weighed their slim odds in tense silence. "We stall," Captain Rowan hissed. eyes snapping from the looming threat on the viewport to Mira. Mira, keep the channel open, but dead silent. Chaz, get ready with your best trick, just in case. Chaz flashed a lopsided grin. Got a sweet little distortion field I've been itching to try. If I patch it into the aux relay, we'll look like we blipped out of existence for about 10 seconds. Won't fool sensors for long, but could buy us a break. Gyrus, the nervous young medic, piped up from the shadows. If we're boarded, they'll go straight for Hex. If they get the AI, there's no telling what they'll do. Hex's optic core pulsed blue. I suggest we use their overconfidence against them. If my data is fragmented, it will buy us time. They'd have to recompile to get the Starfall coordinates. On the comms, the Syndicate woman snarled, "Last chance. Power down or face immediate destruction." Rowan took a deep breath, then spoke, voice steely. "This is Captain Rowan of the ESV Audacity. We are on a humanitarian mission authorized by the New Terra Accord. Stand down or risk an interplanetary incident." The Syndicate officer didn't even twitch. "You have 30 seconds, then we atomize you." Chaz's fingers flew over the engineering console, prepping the distortion burst. "Ready on your mark, Cap. Hex, scatter those files. Mira, when Chaz pops the field, blast the backup transmission to Dr. Fai. All the coordinates we've got so far. If they take us, at least someone on our side has the clue." Mira gulped, but managed to nod. "I'm ready." "Let's show them human grit," Rowan muttered. With a flick of Rowan's hand, Chaz triggered the burst. Reality warped, panels fizzed, the viewport blurred, and the world spun sideways. Every alarm on the bridge screamed as sensor ghosts flooded the Syndicate's board. "Now, Mira!" Rowan barked. Mira slapped the relay. The ship shuddered, and for 10 breathless seconds, the Audacity became a ghost ship. Every signal, every heat trace buried in static and echoes. Outside, the Syndicate's ship barked confused bursts of fire at an empty patch of shadow. Inside, Hex's fractured data scattered across a pulse beam toward New Terra. As the ship slid into silence again, Mira felt her hope grow alongside her fear. They'd survived, for now. But in the distance, distant FTL bursts flared, more ships drawn to the Starfall secret like wolves to blood. "We just declared war," Chaz whispered, grinning despite it. Mira swallowed hard, knowing this was only the beginning. The Audacity tumbled behind the scorched moon as the static cloak wore off. Only Mira's rapid keyboard strokes and the low hum of auxiliary life support filled the tense air on the bridge. They'd shaken the Syndicate, but new threats blinked onto the scopes. Colonial patrols, scavenger bands, maybe worse. Tane angled the ship deeper into the asteroid field, maximizing cover. Dust and rock battered the hull. "We've got company stacking up. Factions from Juno Prime, Arclight Mercs. Seriously, how fast did this leak?" Hex's interface flickered. "Probability of total sector infiltration of Starfall data, climbing. Recommend we continue fragmentation of sensitive information." Chaz, breathless from the earlier strain, swiveled his chair toward Rowan. "Whatever's out there, everyone wants it. We can't outrun them forever. Any luck decrypting the last Foros packet?" Mira frowned, peering at the cascading alien symbols. "It's not just a location. There's a test, a sequence of gates or trials. The Foros locked this vault tighter than anything I've ever seen. We'll need more than luck or firepower." Gyrus, wide-eyed, tried to lighten the mood. "If they were offering hope, why build so many traps?" Hex replied without emotion. "Self-preservation. They knew only those worthy or desperate would try. Historical pattern for preservation of balance." Rowan cracked his knuckles, trying to sound unshaken. "We're going in anyway. Tane, cut a stealth channel to Arclight. Maybe we can pit one of these crews against the other. Draw off pursuit." Mira caught Hex's optic, voice low. "Can you fake a Foros signal, enough to make it seem like one of the vaults moved?" For the first time, Hex hesitated, as if weighing risks. Possible. Risk high, but it would create confusion among enemy factions. Chaz grinned, energized by the mischief. "Let's dial up the confusion. Nothing like chaos to hide our trail." "Do it," Rowan ordered. "We buy time, then we dive for the first gate." Hex projected an ancient Foros key code and launched a decoy signal across the sector. Immediately, intercepts lit up. Half the ships in pursuit peeled off toward a phantom location. Mira exhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. As the Audacity sped deeper into the shade of ruined worlds and cross signals, she realized surviving meant more than just running. They'd have to outsmart, outlast, and outgrow the war exploding around them. Rowan caught her gaze, voice softer. We can't save everyone, Mira, but if we pull this off, we change the game for all of humanity. Mira held his look, resolve hardening in her chest. She hadn't believed in heroes for a long time, but maybe, under these broken lights, she could become one. The Audacity knifed through the asteroid field, the fake Foros signal luring rivals away. But the momentary calm was fragile. Mira could feel it in the chill sweat prickling her neck. Down in engineering, Chaz kept the patched distortion coils humming, while Hex worked with uncanny quiet. Mira's eyes never left the endless runes scrolling across her screen. Suddenly, something clicked, a faint pattern hidden in the alien logic. Her breath caught. The vault's location? It's wrapped in a puzzle, not a lock. Whoever sent the message wanted someone to earn their way inside. Hex, highlight that last sequence again. Hex complied instantly. Autonomous pattern confirmation. 3 nested gates. 1 physical, 1 computational, and 1 moral, Tane snorted. Moral? We're up against pirates with nerve gas and they want a test of conscience? Rowan leaned over Mira's console, his voice low but fierce. It's a filter. Right now, anyone ruthless enough to tear through every obstacle is coming for Starfall. But we have to be better. Chaz piped in from his station. First gate is closed. Plutus station off Hydra's rim. It's abandoned, but there's chatter someone set up a blockade. Mira looked at Rowan, a spark of determination lighting her features. If we're gonna get there in one piece, we're gonna need help. Real allies. Tane raised an eyebrow. Who's left to trust? Rowan's jaw worked as he weighed the options. Dr. Phi has the partial coordinates. She'll trust us if she's still alive. Hex, send a low-bandwidth pulse, encrypted with my old war code. Mira, start drafting a plan for approaching Plutus without getting us all spaced. Gyrus, quiet so far, placed a tentative hand on Mira's shoulder. You can do this, Mira. You've done impossible things before. For the first time since leaving the ruins of Earth, Mira let herself believe it. The story was changing, and maybe so was she. As the Audacity banked around a cratered moon, the next challenge loomed. Hex returned the message from Dr. Fay, in clipped text. Under siege. We'll hold for 3 days. Trust no one. A sick weight settled in everyone's stomachs, but Mira just clenched her fists harder. Plutus Station, then. We sneak in, get Dr. Phi, and face the first gate. For all of us. The glow from the distant vault's coordinates pulsed faintly on Mia's screen. A promise and a warning. The first real test of the Starfall Protocol had begun. Plutus Station loomed ahead, a jagged silhouette against the glittering dust belt of Hydra's rim. Abandoned decades ago, it was rumored to be haunted, but now flickered with telltale electronic life. Someone had reactivated its sentry turrets and defense grid. Mira's pulse drummed as Tane killed the forward thrusters, letting the Audacity drift in among the station's shadowy debris. Chaz gripped his toolkit, eyes darting. Tight scan. Syndicate's left tripwires on every dock approach. Anyone tries to slip through, they blow the maglocks from the outside. Whole airlocked vent. Hex trilled softly. Analyzing defensive pattern. Sentry recharge cycles, 14 seconds down every 78 seconds. Window is slim but possible. Rowan nodded sharply. Chaz, prep a manual override on the docking port. Tane, time our drift exactly. No engines, no heat signature. Mira, you and Gyrus come with me. Hex, watch the airlock scans. With surgical precision, the Audacity slipped through a dead zone in the sentry's arc. Hull plating groaned against the neglected valve of Dock 7. Inside, stale air greeted them, stillness broken only by the whir of backup generators. Mira's nerves vibrated. She led the way down frost-coated corridors, jaw set. Dr. Phi locked herself in the old medbay. Sensors show she's alone, so far. They moved past collapsed bulkheads and bitter reminders of the wars that drove humanity from planet to station. Static whispers echoed down empty halls. Mira paused at a flickering security door, sending Hex a silent signal. Override now. The lock snapped open. Inside, Dr. Phi stood, blaster in hand, wild-eyed but alive. She sagged with relief. You actually came. Couldn't let the Syndicate have you, Mira said, her tone softer than she meant. Are you hurt? 3 grazes, nothing vital. But I only had an hour until their next sweep. I decrypted part of the second gate's code, but it's changing, almost like the AI's watching us. Roiling through the vents, Mira caught a distant stomp. Syndicate boarding team, closer than they thought. Rowan's order was razor-sharp. Chaz, re-engage the dock thrusters on my mark. Everyone else, cover Dr. Phi and get back to the ship. Blaster fire snapped down the corridor as Syndicate troopers burst from cover. Mira took a shot, the concussion rattling her teeth. Go! We'll hold! Gyrus swept Dr. Phi behind him, Mira firing in short, controlled bursts. A trooper fell. Chaz's voice crackled. Doc, clear! Punch it! They scrambled across the gangway, Hex activating a smoke pulse that clouded sensors. The airlock groaned shut behind them as the Audacity peeled away, shield flaring hot from a direct missile hit. A lucky escape, but not a perfect one. In the aftermath, Dr. Phi, breathing hard and wounded, but alive, pressed a blood-stained drive into Mira's hand. The second key. Only you can finish this puzzle. Mira's hand shook as she took it, but determination cut through her fear. Then I won't let you down, for all of us. As the station's deadly lights faded into the cold, Mira realized she hadn't just passed a test. She'd proven to herself and her crew that she could lead in the darkest moments. The Audacity limped through the battered edge of Hydra's rim, alarms hissing in the battered control deck. Mira never let go of Dr. Phi's blood-stained drive. Her pulse synced with the faint blue glow that seeped through her fingers. Down in engineering, Chaz wrestled with sparking relays while Hex ran non-stop diagnostics. Gyrus hovered anxiously beside Mira as she loaded the drive. You've got this, Mira. Just breathe. Rowan checked the sensors. Pursuers were still hot on their trail, closing fast. Whatever's on that drive, decode it now. If we don't move, we're toast. Hex patched the drive into its processing core. On the hollow screen, ancient Phoros glyphs danced and transformed, rearranging into what looked like a map with a pulse. Mira's brow furrowed. It's not a static location. The vault moves every time the key is accessed, like it knows we're hunting it. Behind them, Dr. Phi grunted through pain. That's why the moral gate matters. The vault must only reveal itself to those who seek it for more than power. Tane's voice shook from the pilot's station. Another Syndicate frigate on approach, shields at 24%. Rowan made a decision. Chaz, rig the backup core for a pulse jump. We risk blowing ourselves up, but it's our only chance. Chaz wiped oil from his face and grinned weakly. Hang on to your socks, folks. Mira's trembling fingers flew over the keys, using both data keys, hers and Dr. Phi's, to sync Hex's translation. Suddenly, words bloomed in the center of the screen. Only those who choose hope for all over gain for the few may see the garden's door. You have to decide, Mira, Hex said, its voice eerily gentle. Intention matters. How you answer will change our fate. Mira hesitated. The thought of Eden, of restoring dead worlds, was tempting. But she remembered the faces of her crew, the wounded people she'd seen starve and suffer across broken colonies. She spoke, voice trembling but clear. I choose the protocol. Not for myself, but for everyone. The garden's hope has to be shared. Hex pulsed, brighter than ever. Confirmed. Immediately the vault's coordinates snapped into focus, hidden in orbit above a ruined, unclaimed moon. Alarms screamed as Chaz threw the core into hyperdrive, the universe warping into streaks of light as Syndicate fire raked past their hull. In the lingering silence, Dr. Phi smiled, a quiet, proud look just for Mira. You did what none of us could. Now let's finish this. The final gate, and the legendary Starfall Vault waited ahead. Mira had made her choice. Now she would have to live up to it. The Audacity dropped out of hyperspace, battered but intact. Above the lonely moon, the Phoros Vault now orbited. The landscape below was a graveyard of ancient structures, scavenged centuries ago and left to rot beneath the dust-choked atmosphere. The final gate's signal pulsed steady and low, guiding them to a wide obsidian dome half-buried near a dry rift, alien runes aglow. Chaz patched up the last of the ship's power relays. She'll hold together for one more landing. After that, we'll need a miracle. Tane brought the ship in low, using the last of their stealth shield. There's 2 Syndicate ships already down. Looks like they're groundside, but nobody's cracked the dome. Mira stood at the viewport, heart pounding. A strange serenity washed over her. The fear was still there, but so was a fierce resolve. The crew gathered, a ragged line facing whatever fate the vault held. Rowan checked his sidearm, then looked at Mira. This one's yours, Mira. We follow your lead. Gyrus handed out med pens and a shaky smile. No dying, yeah? It'd make paperwork a mess. They disembarked through acid drifts and broken pylons, guided by Hex's pulsing scans. At the dome's doorway, Syndicate mercenaries waited, guns drawn, but their leader, the scarred woman from the earlier transmission, lifted a hand. "Stand down. The vault won't open for us. We've tried everything. It wants the code and the right intent." Mira met the woman's gaze, seeing in her a quiet desperation, the last hope of people who had nothing left to fight for. "If we open this, I can't promise who will control what comes next, but I won't use it for revenge or power. You have my word." The woman regarded her for a long moment, then holstered her weapon. "Do it then, and gods help you if you lie." Hex extended thin filaments to the vault's lock, feeding in the keys and Mira's recorded answer. The dome vibrated, alien mechanisms humming. All eyes turned to Mira as a holographic guardian flickered to life, Foros code swirling in its voice. "Why do you seek the garden's gift?" Mira stepped forward. "To heal what we've all broken. Not just for Earth, but for every world, every colony, every one of us who's lost hope." An eerie silence fell, broken only by the dome splitting with a thunderous crack. Light poured out, illuminating relics of Foros tech, seeds, terraforming engines, libraries of genetic blueprints. The vault was real. Hope was real. But Hex's alarm chimed sharply. "Warning, distress signals detected. 3 more ships inbound. Our window to extract is limited." Chaz readied the portable databanks. "We can't take everything. Gotta pick seeds or tech." Rowan looked at Mira. "This is the hardest call you'll ever make. What's it gonna be?" With the fate of what was left of humanity in her bruised hands, Mira knew. Her next choice would echo across the stars. The vault's interior pulsed with life, its lights reflecting in Mira's wide eyes. Relics floated in force fields, life seeds twinkling like galaxies, core terraforming engines spinning with contained storms, and shelves of glimmering crystal data scrolls, each inscribed with planetary blueprints. Mira's heart ached at the impossible choice. A chorus of alarms grew louder. Hex projected a 3D map in front of her. 3 hostile ships on fast approach, Syndicate reinforcements already touching down. Chaz's hands hovered over the databanks, sweat beading on his forehead. "We've got 90 seconds, Mira." Jairus touched her arm, voice trembling. "If we take the seeds, we can save starving colonies now. If we take the tech, we can heal whole worlds. But if the wrong folks get it..." The scarred Syndicate leader stood motionless at the vault entrance, watching Mira's every move. "Tick-tock, hero. Decide before none of us make it out." Mira felt the weight of every starving child, every dying planet, every desperate hope in the galaxy bearing down on her. Rowan's voice cut through the tension. "You changed when you chose hope at the gate, Mira. We trust you. That's all we've got." Dr. Phi, limping but determined, pressed a shaking hand to the force field around the life seeds. "Tech is power. Seeds are rebirth. Neither's safe in the wrong hands. But you, not just who you are, but who you're becoming, you're the balance we need." Hex's light intensified. Recommended extraction, partial upload of genetic blueprints with a sample set of seeds. Prioritize adaptability and security. Probability of success, 59%. All other options fall below 30%. Mira nodded, the truth crystallizing. "Not all or nothing. We take enough tech to plant hope, not to rule with it." She punched in Hex's recommended protocol, combining a starter bank of adaptive seeds and the core library of restoration blueprints. Chaz scrambled to siphon the data, Hex interweaving lockout codes that would keep the full power from being unleashed all at once. Tane called through the comms. "They're cutting through the dome. 30 seconds." The door shuddered. Syndicate blasters began to carve molten gashes through the vault entrance. For a split second, the Syndicate leader's resolve faltered. She met Mira's eyes. "You could have grabbed it all, taken over the sector with a flick of your hand." Mira's answer was quiet but unbreakable. "That's not what this is for." The crew sprinted, Chaz cradling the vital banks, Mira barely looking back as lights dimmed behind them, and Syndicate reinforcements stormed the vault. Bursting into daylight, they plunged across the rift to the Audacity, weapons fire snarling at their heels. Hex triggered the ship's final failsafe, a viral data bomb that wiped coordinates for the vault from every networked system on the moon. The Syndicate and other scavengers would find an empty husk, never the vault's secret again. Once inside the battered Shenzhen, straining and alarms screaming, Mira saw her reflection in the cracked console. No longer just a survivor, but an underdog who'd chosen not to hoard hope, but to share it. "Punch us out, Tane," Mira breathed. And as the Audacity roared skyward with humanity's redemption aboard, she knew the greatest test was yet to come. Not just rekindling dead worlds, but keeping the fragile peace her choice had sparked. The stars outside glittered with possibility, and the only way was forward. The battered Audacity slipped the gravitational grip of the ruined moon, streaking into the safety of deep space. The vault was lost to the sector, but hope was coursing through the ship. Compact, dangerous, precious. Mira leaned in the command chair, still catching her breath as the echoes of escape faded and the future edged in. Hex populated the monitors with encrypted versions of what they'd taken. A fraction of Foros terraforming blueprints, and enough adaptive life seeds to begin again on at least a dozen worlds. On another channel, Dr. Phi drafted proposals, already projecting how to rebuild soil and water. Chaz and Tane patched hull breaches and ran ship-wide diagnostics, laughter shaking loose from their relief. Even the sharp-eyed syndicate leader, wounded in spirit but alive, sat quietly in the medbay, watching the crew she'd tried to outfight. But across the sector, the network was in turmoil. Though the vault was lost, word was out. Every hungry world, every desperate faction was sending signals, a clamor of need, fear, and political threats. On New Terra, broadcasts fretted, rebel groups warned of chaos, and colonies on the brink begged for help. Rowan called the crew together in the cramped galley. His voice was tired but proud. "We've got the one thing no one expected. A chance. It isn't a magic fix. There'll be fights ahead, hard choices. Some folks will want to steal what we have or use it for power, but some, they'll want to build." He looked at Mira. "We led the hunt, now we lead the next step." Mira nodded, eyes clear, steadier than ever. "We'll share what we can. Careful, slow, smart. We'll choose where to start with Dr. Phi's input. We do this right, the protocol becomes a seed, not a sword. Not everyone gets everything, but no one gets left in the dark." Gyrus raised a mug, voice pitching hopeful. "Here's to the last garden and what it grows." As the weeks blurred past, Audacity became the heart of a humble network. Worlds tired of war sent envoys, battered ships lined up for a few grains of hope. Mira and her crew didn't just hand over the tech, they taught, guarded, and held the line. When the syndicate leader Maya asked for help to regrow her home's atmosphere, it was Mira who walked beside her, overseeing the first cautious deployment of Foros-engineered moss. Not every battle was won. Rival factions tried sabotage, and a colony governor demanded exclusive rights. But Mira diffused greed with transparency and Hex's carefully rationed secrets. When the first blue wildflowers bloomed on a broken moon, a riot of color in the gray dust, even skeptics paused to hope again. One night, alone on the bridge, Mira recorded the first log of the true Starfall Protocol. "We didn't fix all that's broken, but we planted something that could outlast us, a promise that no one would be forgotten this time." The stars spun beyond the viewport. Audacity creaked but carried on, an underdog ship with a captain who had learned that the greatest power wasn't seizing salvation but sharing it. And in a far, lonely corner of Andromeda, the vault's garden waited, roots deep and strong, ready for a future shaped by hope instead of fear.